All right, guys, welcome back to Talking Preps.
Well, I hope
You
I
don't
didn't need to
see
finish some
everybody on the
breath.
screen today because we have some technical issues. But we're going to have a show tonight. So we got Dale Ross, we got Sam Griner, and we got Cameron Williams. Cameron has always wanted to be a primetime dude. Tonight, Cam, is your wish. You're primetime dude.
Prime time.
Prime time. So we had a heat wave come through last week, fellas. A lot of the games started around 8 o'clock instead of the normal 7:30 and 7. 8 o'clock, Dales, you remember, used to be the start time way back in the old days when I had
When
hair
I
and you
played,
had less
yep,
gray
8 o'clock. Yep.
when you played. Do we like 8 o'clock better, Dale, or do we like 7 or 7:30 better?
What I didn't like about 8 o'clock this past week is that when I looked at my watch at 10 o'clock, we were just going into halftime. uh, but do I like
Yes,
eight
sir.
o'clock kickoffs better? Yeah, there's a lot of yay and nay about that. In Charlotte, it's easier for people to get the games the later the game starts. 7 o'clock kickoffs are hard for some people to make. Um, but I don't know. Did we beat the Heat Friday night by doing that? Let me tell you something. It was hot.
No, you
It
didn't
was
beat the
hot
Heat.
at 10 o'clock Friday night. So I don't know which I like better. I just like football. That's all.
Cam, as a young guy, do you like 7 o'clock starts, which you're used to, or did you enjoy the 8 o'clock start on Friday night?
Well, from a journalist perspective, I love the 7 o'clock because I get home, get the stuff, story written and everything, and I'm home or I'm relaxing earlier. But at the same time, I mean, it's kind of cool. More people, there were a lot more people at the 8 o'clock game that I went to. Now, granted, it was Mallard Creek and a national team, but at the
Mhm.
same time, it was kind of nice to have it pushed back a little later.
Sam, at West Charlotte, first home game in 4 years. You guys had fans out at 11:30, almost midnight, eating barbecue at picnic tables, and your game ended late because you scored a gazillion points, and there was, just a lot of excitement going on. Did you like getting home at 1 a.m. or do you like the 7 o'clock start?
I like the 7 o'clock starts when the time changes.
Barbecue picnic table.
I like 8 o'clock start right now because I like when the game starts. I want it to be dark. I think that means like Friday night lights. I want to see the theater aspect of it whenever it's darker. I think we should change the times when it gets darker to move it back to 7. Stuff like that.
Dale, you like a rolling time? So we start at 8 in August and then kind of
Two
move back to
things.
7 when we get to October, maybe?
Well, first let's roll back to that last comment you made. Barbecue and picnic tables. Dale was at the game, hurting feet, and I didn't get invited.
Oh, you didn't get any food.
Sam,
Hold on, I didn't. Well, first of all,
you didn't invite
my
me.
man, I was trying to set up an end zone camera for 2 hours before the game came. You were like, "Hey, you going to escort me up there?" And I was like, "I'm struggling, Dale. I gotta get a little bit better team around setting the things up." And first home game, it worked out. Got to get the camera crew working a little bit better, and then we'll have you a plate of food next time for sure.
All right, so back to the question, Dale. Do you like a rolling time?
Okay,
So
but
we would start like 8 o'clock in August
back
and
to
back
the
it up.
question.
Back to the question.
Maybe. I don't know that the temperature drops that much between 7 and 8, but I'm going to tell you something that a kid said to me on the sidelines Friday night. Now, he's a JV player. Kind of looked like Urkel with his glasses. And he told me, he said, "This ain't like last night. This ain't like last night." And I told him, I said, "No, there's a reason they call it Friday Night Lights." I said, "You just got to work hard so that you can be out here playing under this."
Right.
So you do have more of the stadium light time, which I think just to me means more about football than playing is great, but being able to play with the lights on and the lights having an impact does change things. At least it does for me. It's
I
more
would.
like a football. It's more like a Friday night football game.
I don't do this often, but I agree with Sam. I kind of like starting 8 early, and then as it gets darker, moving back to 7. The journalist to me wants to be 7, but I kind of get where he's coming from. The one thing that I
Yeah.
was a little confused about, Dale, was the JV game started at 7 on Thursday night. It was just as hot Thursday night, so why couldn't they play at 8 o'clock on Thursday night, just like the varsity did? And to your point, maybe the difference in temperature isn't that great anyway. But I still understand why we moved the older kids to hour back, but we let the younger kids go out earlier.
Because most of them coaches got to come
But the
back and
kids,
prepare for the next game the next day.
Also, so we sacrificed the children for the coaches.
Well, no, it's not that. It's just them coaches they're working 2 nights in a
sacrifice the
row. I
children
think
for
that
the coach.
if you had coaches,
No, I hear you. Dale, any surprises last week? We had a lot of big games go on. Anything jump out?
So yeah, a couple of things jumped out at me.
Yeah, absolutely. But anything jump out at you football wise?
Yeah, the biggest thing was how close Mallard Creek played Buford. So that was huge. Not just because Sam's on the show, but it really jumped out at me also how his team didn't fold after getting smacked in the mouth pretty hard early in the game. If you just judge,
we're gonna come back.
Yeah,
to
I'm
West
not going to
Charlotte.
go any further
We're
than
back to
that.
West Charlotte, Dale,
But that was a surprise to me, actually, to be able to rebound.
All right.
I don't know if Independence was a
Live TV, Dale.
Yeah, I know, and I'm just trying to think. The Independence was could have been a surprise.
75 points is a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'll tell you
ahead.
one thing that surprises
What's that?
me. If you look at some of the bigger games, there's a lot of special team touchdowns and there's a lot of defensive touchdowns right now. I think they're playing big time aspect. Like early in the season, you're seeing normally offenses are ahead, and you're seeing a lot of defenses in certain aspects making big plays. They're not just getting turnovers, but they're turning them into touchdowns. I think we've seen more in the first 2 weeks than I've ever seen. Not just an interception, but an interception for a touchdown, or a fumble recovery for a touchdown, or a blocked punt for a touchdown. You're seeing touchdowns, away from just the offense. I think that's a big surprise to me.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you guys about Huff. Cam,
Bigger defensive play.
Cam Huff was nationally ranked in the preseason, as high as number 2 on some of the statewide polls. They're 1-1 right now. They've actually been outscored 34-22. And they play at Dutch Fork Friday. And Dutch Fork, which was number 1 in our preseason Carolina's top 25 poll, is 0-2. This is not probably a good spot for Huff to go playing at Dutch Fork. But what do you think Huff needs to do to kind of fix some of their problems?
I got to find something on offense. I mean, obviously the big story was their defense coming back. But when you lose a guy like Tad Hudson, you lose JT Smith, their quarterback and their running back, and it's going to be a learning curve.
New system.
But new system under a new coach, Coach Baker. But I mean, in Dutch Fork, that their struggles, and it's gonna be an interesting game. But I think their defense just has to show out, like it has to this point. But they got to find something. They got to get something rolling on that offense.
Sam, as a coach, if I have a lot of D1 studs on defense and we're struggling on offense, to me, layman, it seems like maybe I need to 2 platoon a little bit. I know that's a bad word for a football, but do you have to make that change now to try to get your offense sparked?
I
always say that there's always like a rule of thumb. If the drop off is so significant, you have to 2 platoon. So say I have a Division I player, okay, and he's primary playing defense, but he can play wide receiver, but the next guy that can play wide receiver is like a B+ guy and he's an A- guy. I would not play him as much. But if the guy that's 2 platoon is an A- guy on offense as well, but the drop off is all the way to like a C-, there's such a huge separation. Yes, you have to like pick and choose certain series to use that other guy on the other side of the ball. But you have to understand that as a coach, you got to evaluate the drop off. That's the
They
key.
also had 165 yards of penalties against Myers Park. That doesn't help either when your offense is struggling. So I think they got a lot to clean up. Huff does have a lot of talent, but they have a lot to clean up. Sam beat a good Monroe team, Cameron. They were number 2 in the state among 2A teams. And Sam, even though he's sitting here with us, he had a whole lot to say after the game before he denied Dale a plate of food.
Yeah, I mean, I told us for us to be a championship team, the man, the throne, what we talk about, we got to persevere. There's going to be good things that happen. There's going to be bad things that happen. The first glimpse of us being a team, rallying when we're down, I think we're down 9-0. We had to come rallying back, and they had a lot of momentum. And then when we took the lead, they ended up getting a big kickoff return back, and then we got a kick return back. And so just to be able to overcome that, even in the second half we were down, to go up and be up 2 scores late, it just shows that we're going to protect this house. We ain't played here in 4 years, and we have to daggone overcome a lot. That's a great football team in Monroe. They got a great chance to win the daggone 2A state championship, and it's exciting to be able to compete with them and be able to win in the end.
Dale, you were at that game. Is West Charlotte back? Do I need to put Sam in the back while you answer this question?
No, you don't need to put Sam in the back. West Charlotte played really good football. And I think what West Charlotte did better than anything that I've seen in a while, and I said this last year, but it's better this year. Their team unity is a lot more like what you want to see out of the team. And to be around the team, you could understand what I'm talking about. There was not a lot of, when they were down 9-0, I didn't see a lot of fighting. And let me tell you, it was an ugly 9-0 too. It really was. I still did not lose faith that they would be able to hang in the ball game, but it was like having a prize fighter just back you into the corner in the first round and just pound. That's about how that 9 points felt. But for them to fight back one just showed a lot of perseverance is a great word and all, but really the not fight amongst each other. And then from that point forward, it really started becoming a question of who was going to tire first, because you just as we've all expected out of Monroe, they're fast and they're athletic.
Always.
I mean,
they're
coached. No
different. And well coached.
Huh? Yeah, well coached, and they play well football. They play football well. They play with a good IQ. They excel at most positions. Their quarterback could, he's not going to go to college throwing footballs, but he's still a very athletic kid and a danger. So, I mean, really, West Charlotte beat a very solid 2A team that will be late in the playoffs, a 2A team that beat a majority maybe of the Charlotte 4A teams. That's not saying a lot about Charlotte football, but I think West Charlotte's is definitely on their way back. They look better in this game than they did in any of the games that I saw them play last year.
Wow.
I think.
Well, since we have West Charlotte's football coach, let's ask him: is this team hitting where you want it to hit? Is it aiming in the right direction? And then the second part of my question: what's it like to finally have a home game, and how tough was it not to have a home game all these years?
Yeah, I think that ask me how good we can be after this week. This is a game that we've definitely circled in the past, going against Independence. We got them the first year when we played 2 years ago, and then last year they got us. Getting to play on our home field, I think, will be a huge advantage for us. They're kind of suffering a little bit what we had to do the last few years of not playing at home. Independence, so they're seeing how difficult it is to get buses every week, no matter if you're home or away right now with their field issues. But I am, like I told you before, this team that we have at West Charlotte is different than any team I've had at West Charlotte. We can do some dangerous things. I don't think we've even played close to what we can yet. I think that we got to clean up a lot of things. Like we got 15, 17 penalties to someone else's 3. That can really hurt you in ball games, especially when they're as good as like Monroe. and Independence and the teams that we've played. We ain't playing no cupcakes, I can tell you that. And don't be surprised, like I said, Palisades is a better football team than you guys can imagine. I think they can compete in that conference and win the championship over there. So shout out to Sims. I think he's doing a great job. But like I said, when you have a quarterback in KD and you got the young talent that we have, and they're not fearful of anything. These kids that are 14, 15 years old think they are 19, 205, pure muscle. They mentally are tough. And it's rare that you see that. I like it. And then we got some older guys on the defensive side of the ball, and it's pretty special to watch right now. If we can continue to grow, it could be the best team I've ever been a part of.
Wow, and you won a state championship at Harding in 2017. I haven't heard you talk like this since that team. What was it like to have a home game for the first time in 4 years? You've never had a home game as coach at West Charlotte.
Exactly. I've been on the other side of it. It's a very intimidating thing being on the other side. I got a little upset. I'm not gonna lie. I was anticipating to smell the fish fry, and they told me that's just a homecoming thing always. And I was like, that's all I've heard for 4 years. So I kind of need that. I need that smell when I'm coming out of the locker room. I didn't have that. But to look up into the stands and seeing people that graduate from 76 to 80s and the 90s, and just to walk by them and see the passion in their eyes. Like, I didn't even give a pregame speech. I said I wanted to enjoy it because I don't even understand the passion behind it. One of my coaches that played before that graduated in the 2000s and went to Hampton, TJ Mixon, I let him do the pregame speech. And I said, this means more to you than even it means to me, even though it means a ton to me. I want to see these kids, the kids that have put in the blood, sweat, and tears since their freshman year, that are finally seniors, to get to play in their home stadium. It's a different feel. And to be down, getting whooped the way we were early on, and see them persevere through it, I tell you, that's something I wasn't expecting to see, but I was proud to see.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to
When
take
did
a break
it become
right here.
a homecoming only thing?
I don't know. That's what I don't know all the traditions really. I'm learning them, but that's what someone told me. They said it's always going to be a fish fry on homecoming, but they do it in other games. It's not always
used to be a fish fry every
game.
week. No,
Every week.
I got to interject now. It used to be a fish fry every week, and used to go into the cafeteria.
I'm old school. I
They'd
know
have a
better.
whole line of food in the cafeteria. It was like West Charlotte's food is incredible. We're going to be right back after this break. We got to take a break for the cause. We're going to have a charter school discussion with Craig Smith at Lake Norman Charter. We had a big discussion last week about charter schools, so I thought I'd go get an expert to come on. We'll have him back on the backside of the break.
Deer Park is celebrating its 150th anniversary.
Deer Park? That's good water.
You can taste how pure Deer Park is.
Deer Park, that's good water.
Deer Park, that's still good water.
All right, guys, we're back on Talking Preps. Last week, we had a pretty spirited discussion about charter schools, and I wanted to bring in Craig Smith from Lake Norman Charter to talk about charter schools. Craig is also on a very important board for the state association. I want to try to get into that as well. Craig, last week there was a lot of discussion about the charter school lottery and the fact that sports coaches might be able to influence that lottery. Can you expound on what the lottery process really is like? And even if I'm 6'5", 250, and I want to transfer into Lake Norman Charter, is it easier for me to get in?
So the way that our lottery process works at Lake Norman Charter is it opens up in November and runs until January 31st of the school year prior to. So if a family wants to put their student's name in the lottery, they have to do so. They have to make that decision between the months of November up until the end of January of the year before that student would be enrolled, if they do get in on the lottery. Now, I can't speak to every single school in the state of North Carolina, but I will say that the fidelity of a lottery process is a computer system, and there is no way, shape, or form that I can or any individual person can influence that lottery. It is a straight computer system, and families get their lottery number, and it's done by grade level. And if you're number 3 or if you're number 303, if you want to come to Lake Norman Charter, you got to hope that you get down to that line and you get offered that position. The only other types of that is if you have a sibling. We do have priority with our sibling lottery. So if you have a 5th grader and then maybe you have an older sibling who is a 10th grader, that 10th grader has a better chance of getting in because that sibling takes priority in that respective grade level.
Dale, haven't heard that. I mean, is that what you're generally experiencing? I mean, I know we hear the rumors, but is that what the facts kind of laid out to you are?
That's the way the facts have been laid out to me. Yes, obviously, we are depending upon people to tell us things, and this has spurred me to have an interest in deeper investigation, just to find out not if they're doing it right or wrong, but to find out what the various um, what's the word I'm looking for? Procedures.
Mm,
How there are, what are the various procedures? There should be one procedure, in my opinion, and they all should be audited. It should be the same procedure everywhere.
sure.
But if it's not, I would like to get an understanding of what the procedures are and if there are any auditing processes. But everyone that's in authority to know that, and it's not like I've had dozens of people, but I've had a handful of people in Craig's position or within a position to know that
Mhm.
have told me exactly what he said. Although they do add that if there's faculty, any school members, family can get in the lottery as well. So it's kind of
Right.
just like at CMS if
Right.
a parent is a
And
teacher.
we've seen that
Yep.
exploited as well. Alex,
Yep.
elephant in the room though. Why is it that so many people think people like Mr. Smith are getting away with something secretive, getting athletes into school? Why do people believe that when we have people like Craig and other coaches telling us that's not the case?
People believe what they want to believe, and people are going to think and say and do whatever they want to think and say and do. Everybody knows that I am a proponent of education-based athletics. Everybody knows that I am both a school and an athletics administrator. Everybody knows that I have experience in the HSA's parochial school realm, and I have experience in the charter school realm. Everyone knows those things, but people still are going to think and say and do whatever they want to think and say and do. People who never have been educators do not understand the myriad of realities that we endeavor to pursue and realize day in and day out, to first and foremost to cultivate, preserve, protect, defend, and epitomize educational integrity in all that we do. And that is a day in and day out pursuit. The realization of educational integrity begins with the simplest of processes, and for charter schools, it is the
Okay, but
lottery.
here's the question for all you guys.
Integrity in your lottery, then everything else is a problem. I can't say it any better than what Mr.
Okay,
Smith said.
but here's the
That's
question, Alex and Craig, is that these public school teams and coaches are seeing the charter schools just dominate in minor sports, and in some cases, in the smaller levels of the major sport, not football, but the major sports. Craig, why do you think that you guys have had so much success as charter schools? And do you understand what the public school coaches how they might feel because of that success?
Well, certainly I can understand why that there's some folks who may be a little bit upset when they see charter schools having strong athletic success. But I will make the comparison that, I remember earlier this summer, Langston, you wrote an article about a lot of big name athletes that were transferring and going to different schools. Those families made those decisions as well. And some of the same folks may not be as loud when certain athletes, our families, are deciding that they are going to move or transfer to another district, not maybe specifically for athletics, but are trying to also better their situation as well. I think that we've had strong success because we've had tremendous buy-in from our entire community. And I think that that's one of the things that you hear commonly with charter schools is that that strong community support. And that goes from our coaches, our faculty, our student athletes, and our parent community.
Yeah.
Langston, let me follow that statement because what I was going to say is that I believe that most likely people who apply for a charter school are thinking more about the education and environment that they're going to be putting their children in. Thus, I believe that they're going to have more interest in that whole endeavor. And I think we all would agree that the best success, both for education and for athletics, is unity and a want and a willingness to take part in that. So I believe what Craig said there really is probably one of the bigger points, is having a more of a community effort there.
All right, Craig, coming back to you, and you've read me, you've read me say this. I want to say it to you. I hear from a lot of coaches, charter school coaches, especially football coaches, that say the easiest way to solve the problem is to put the Chargers in their own playoff bracket. You let them stay in their conferences. But Dale's already saying no. Let them stay in their conferences, then go to the playoffs and put them in their own bracket. What are your thoughts about that? Why would that not work? And Dale, you can respond. Craig, it's for you. Craig, we lost you.
Yeah, I'm one of the maybe in the minority in the charter school landscape that I don't agree with that. I don't think that that's in the best interest. I think that, with the conference and with the continuous conference realignment, we still have an opportunity to schedule those games and have those in whether they're conference or non-conference. But the North Carolina High School Athletic Association has been very forthcoming that isolating charter schools would be very difficult with the language that we are considered public schools, and treating charter schools differently than magnet schools or even some districts that have open enrollment would be very difficult to be able to proceed in that direction with the way that the bylaws are currently written. So while I do believe that there are some coaches out there who would prefer to have that, be its own separate entity within the athletic association, from the conversations I've had and what I'm aware of, I just don't see that happening in the near future.
Dale, you disagree as well, I take it.
Yeah, I don't buy into them having to play a level up either.
Well, that's coming.
Yeah, but I don't even buy. I'm just saying I don't even buy into that.
They may have to play like 5 levels up.
Well, yeah, Langston, I can speak to that real quick, because the way that this the new bylaw amendment, which is part of the task force that you mentioned, it says explicitly that the next realignment will go off of ADM, average daily membership, only. So the formula that was used in the recent realignment, which is where we currently are playing, is no longer going to be the formula that's moving forward. With one caveat, there is some language in Senate Bill 636. It isn't quite as extreme as it once was earlier in the legislative session, but it does look like, if it's going to go into law, that charter schools would not be able to play in the smallest classification, which would mean your schools, however they fall into the smallest, may be required to play up.
So if we have 7 classes, if we have 7 classes and your school is a 2A, they'll only have to play up 3A. They won't have to play up to 7A, is what you're saying.
Correct. Now, there's a lot of work that still has to go forth within this year before we know what that looks like. But with the expansion beyond 4 classifications, at one point, that one time thought that all charter schools were going to have to play up, or some charter schools were going to have to play 4 classifications up. The way that language was once written in Senate Bill 636 is no longer there.
Well, that's good to hear. While I have you, since you're on the task force, I don't know how much you can tell, but I'm going to ask, have you guys talked at all about the regional basketball championships, where they might be, how that might work? See, I'm going to ask, and how football championships might work when we get 7A. Could football become the Charlotte when we get 7A?
So we are not, you're asking question, 13, 14, and we're still figuring out items 1, 2, and 3. So that did come up. I mean, just in general, we're talking about more classifications. We're talking about more regional sites, more state championship sites. That is going to be a major issue, and we're going to have to call upon the entire state to really understand that as we go into that direction, it's going to require a lot more out of folks, and whether that means it's bringing, some state championships or regional competition closer to the 704. I know there's a lot of folks that would really be interested in seeing that. So that is that's something that we're definitely going to have to look into. And those folks in the state athletic office have recognized that. And, it may even call upon some high schools being willing to host state championships in some of the other sports, in the non-basketball, non-football, and some other sports, just simply from a feasibility and logistical standpoint.
Yeah.
Langston, I have a question, really too, but it's real short.
Okay.
Is there, or can you help me find who to talk to to find out more about the processes across the state for charter school. And just a follow to that, is there an audit process for what you do at Lake Norman Charter?
Well, a question like that, I would redirect you to the Office of Charter Schools, which is umbrellaed under the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. So questions like that and topics like that about, the operations of charter schools in North Carolina, that would be your best starting point.
Well, the procedures for the lottery is what I'm questioning.
Well, every charter school would have those procedures posted on their website, and understand that a charter school will have a lottery if the applications exceed the number of seats available. There are some charter schools, especially at the elementary level, that don't have a lottery because they don't need one or require one. A school like Lake Norman Charter, we do, because we have a very strong demand of folks within the area that would like their opportunity for their students to come to school here.
Craig, last question before we cut out. The state legislature passing rules that could allow charter schools to proliferate greatly through the state with the voucher program. Do you see that fundamentally changing the state association, how high school athletics are run down the road?
No, not really, because honestly, you see the growth of the state in schools in general. The number of member schools continuously increase. I mean, we're at 436 for this 23-24 school year. I think it's projected that, there's going to be next year almost up to 450 schools, just with new schools that are opening up. So, I mean, just that there's been a general explosion in North Carolina, especially in your more urban areas in Charlotte and Raleigh. So I don't see that legislation having a drastic impact in high school athletics. I just think that there are going to be, as there are more options for families, you're going to see potentially more families that are going to pursue those interests and those options for those choices.
Absolutely. Well, Craig, thanks for joining us on this conversation. I did want to bring you in. We had a big charter school discussion last week. Love to hear from an expert. I also love to hear somebody's on the task force. Got to have you back when you get the questions 12, 13, and 14, so we can talk about those.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Okay, guys, we're back. That was a phenomenal discussion about charter schools. Dale, thanks for jumping on. I'm bringing back Sam and Cam now. We're going to talk about Mallard Creek. They gave Buford all they wanted Friday. Cam, you at the game, and afterwards you talked to Coach Tinsley, who had a whole lot to say.
You can take a lot from him, man. I'm very proud of him. You know what I mean? The Lord's been blessing us, man, and we're getting better and better. They're buying in. And sometimes stuff don't have to make sense, man. You know what I mean? But it's a bought-in group that loves each other. They're passionate about doing it the right way, and we're being successful. And I still don't know if this group is more talented than the group we had last year. But it just shows the love that they have for each other, doing it the right way. And it puts us in games where we got a great opportunity. And obviously, we're very disappointed we didn't get over the hump when we had the chances. But to just have the opportunity and be in position means a lot to me, and hopefully it means a lot to our school and our community and our families.
Great job, Cam. But the numbers don't lie. They've scored 21 offensive points in 3 weeks. I know you think they can win a state championship. I know you think they're probably the best team in North Carolina in 4A right now. Is that enough offense, Cam, to get the job done?
Well, right now, no. But there's still a lot of season left to play. Evan Rambert really showed a lot of good things, I think, against Buford. I mean, we're talking about a defense that's got 2 players in the top 30 in the class of 24. So, I mean, he didn't just face, a cupcake, as, Sam likes to say. But there's a lot to be worked on the offensive side of the ball. But, I mean, that defense can hold anyone in this state under 14 points, and I really think that.
Sam, can you win a state championship scoring 14 points a game?
Yes. You can. I mean, it's very difficult, but it kind of goes to the identity of Tinsley. I think Tinsley, is a God-fearing man.
Absolutely.
He puts defense first. It's very passionate, like the way like some of the best players on our team, like you're talking about, could be two-way guys, but mostly are going to be defense. We want to stop people. If you stop people, you're always going to have a chance in the game. People that are used to scoring 35, 40 points a game get in a game with him. That's why you see them beat Huff or something like that in the past when Huff was a juggernaut or whatever the case may be, because teams get uncomfortable and they do unnecessary things and they hurt themselves. Throw a pick six, do something unnecessary against their own, like the defense takes it away and they score themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You can win championships that way. Now, as a fan, is it exciting to see a 50 to 40 something game? No, that's great for the fans, but real football is won with defensive championship type mentality. I think that he finally, he's had some great offensive coordinators in the past that have been with him, including Grice. I mean, he's putting up 1 million points now. But I think that Snead, the guy that he has now, is perfect for the identity of what he wants, being able to be a run-first type team,
Right.
Get the big spot plays where, if they throw a screen to a very fast guy, he can go 70, 80 yards, very athletic, but it's that ground and pound that helps out the defensive mindset. So
Ben Black ran away from some Power 5 dudes Friday night. I mean, I was impressed. I was like, that dude's got real. I mean, he's got real speed, like in the old Cars movie. Dale, Mallard Creek, I'm seeing the old heads come back. The old fans. Jonathan Aguayo, the photographer's back with him. It kind of feels like Mallard Creek again. Agree, disagree?
I don't know. That's a hard answer because the old Mallard Creek, the one that I would say that we would be talking about.
I mean, no, not.
No, that's what I'm
the
talking
family
about.
That
I don't know. That's I can't answer that till I go to a game at Mallard Creek and see and interface with the people on the sidelines and see if it's like it was, let's say, 10 years ago.
I feel it. I sense it. I feel it. I definitely, and the fans are coming back, and the football seems to be getting better. It seems like Tinsley's kind of getting past it's hard to follow a legend.
Right.
And he's finally kind of getting his own thing.
Oh,
Palmieri was great. Palmieri, I mean, people know Palmieri, his last team was 10-1-1. It was nasty, right? So,
I mean, when you look at the number of coaches that obviously have left from there, not just Palmieri, but he had built a nice staff. And so it's kind of a rebuild situation that had to take place. And you can't you can't knock Tinsley for what's happened. He's done a good job.
Absolutely.
So,
all right, we're going to take another break. We'll be right back. We're going to turn Cam loose. Since the guru isn't here, we're going to turn Cam loose on the game of the week. Don't be nervous, Cam, on these games of the week. Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. And in the meantime, if you need some refreshment, drink some Deer Park water.
Deer Park is celebrating its 150th anniversary. Let's take a look back.
Deer Park, that's good water.
You can taste how pure Deer Park is.
Deer Park, that's good water.
Filtered naturally beneath the earth for a crisp, refreshing taste.
Deer Park.
Deer Park.
Deer Park. Deer Park.
That's still good water.
After 150 years, there's only one thing left to say. Deer Park, that's still good water.
How did you all get in here?
All right, guys, we're back. It's time for Cam to play the guru. Are you ready, Cam?
The guru in training is ready.
Tell us about the games of the week in North Carolina.
All right, so we got AC Reynolds at East Forsyth. We got AC Reynolds coming in at 1-1. Really close. Lost 8-7 against West Forsyth, and then they beat Shelby last week 28-21. It's going to be a very tough game for Reynolds, as East Forsyth, they can put up points in bunches. They're 2-0, albeit maybe not playing the strongest teams thus far in the season. They may not have Jalen Rayner, but they haven't missed a beat so far this season. I really think this will be the first challenge the Eagles have faced, though. It'll be interesting to see if Reynolds can slow down the offense of East Forsyth. Moving down to Crest Shelby here. Yeah, it's a good old-fashioned Crest Shelby rivalry. I mean, it's going to be an extremely tall task for the Golden Lions. As they're 0-2, and they're playing a Crest team who's arguably top 10 in the state, regardless of class. Natavius Husky's over there doing his thing, rushing for over 70 yards a game, 8 touchdowns already through the air. Receiver Javarius Green has been on the receiving end of 4 of those touchdown passes. So on paper, this looks like a one-sided game, but you never know in a big rivalry game. Then you got Hillside and Dudley. Dudley is really going to be out for some revenge after falling to Hillside last season. Dudley's coming in 2-0 while Hillside's 1-1. Dudley's wins have been against Greensboro Page and Southeast Guilford. Through 2 weeks, Dudley wideout C.J. Neely's averaging 132 yards receiving per game, so it'll be someone that I'd really keep an eye on. Seems like it's going to be a tale of two styles battling it out here, but it's who can execute their style better, running or passing the ball through the air. So moving down to Cleanville. Go ahead.
I said big game up Alex's way. 2-0 teams battling up that way.
Yep. So you got Cleveland at West Johnson. Like you said, the battle of unbeaten teams here. Cleveland is definitely probably the more balanced team. As I look at what they like to do, they run the ball and pass the ball pretty evenly. But the Rams are likely to be favored in this one. If they put a money line on it, if you will. But the defense for Cleveland's going to be really tough. Both Josiah Wells and Jack Gibson have interceptions this season. It's going to keep quarterback Jackson Bird honest. So then as you move down to J.H. Rose at Northern Nash, this game's going to be played on Thursday. You got two of the top teams on the eastern side of the 3A. Northern Nash comes in 2-0. They're defending, or they went to the state championship last year. East Lincoln beat them, but they got to the state championship last year. Jameer Roach is rushing for just over 170 yards for J.H. Rose, so it's going to be a tall task for Northern Nash to stop him.
Yeah.
But both teams really like to run the ball, so with this game starting around 7 o'clock, you can expect to be home about 9:15.
Okay.
So moving down to Huck at Dutch Fork. These are both two teams really trying to find their stride this year. Not many people would have thought that coming in, these teams would have only had one win combined this far in the season. Now, granted, they both played very difficult, opponents. Huff played a talented Burns team out of South Carolina and Myers Park, who's really on the rise. Dutch Fork playing Colquitt County out of Georgia, and they also played Spartanburg. And like we mentioned earlier, the Huskies are going to have to find some offense. When you lose guys like Tad Hudson and JT Smith, it's hard, and you're under new coaching, but at the same time, you got to put up some points to beat a Tom Knott's team. But Dutch Fork quarterback Jonathan Hunt was hurt against Colquitt County, so to my knowledge, I'm not sure if he's going to be playing. They've been starting a sophomore quarterback, or they started a sophomore quarterback last game against Spartanburg in that loss, so it's really just a toss-up game. And then you move down to West Forsyth at Weddington. Obviously, Sam thinks Weddington is probably the best team in the state right now. I think this game could be one-sided. West Forsyth really, really got to control the time of possession and keep it out of Tyler Budge's hands. If not, this game could probably get out of hand.
Ooh.
And so the
You said
last
West
game
Forsyth?
I'm previewing.
West
Forsyth
Forsyth got
beat
a
AC
started
Reynolds.
running back. They could call.
Yeah, West Forsyth beat AC Reynolds, right?
Yeah, they beat AC Reynolds. It was an 8-7 game. I mean, it was just a defensive game. I don't think many teams are going to be able to hold a Coach Capone coach team under 21 points. That's going to be a real tall task.
Here's my question, Cam. Is Independence going to score 75 points on Friday night?
They won't score 75, but they might hit 35. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we got the coach of West Charlotte right here, so I gotta tiptoe on the line.
No, you don't.
Independence comes in 1-1. Sam's squad's 2-0. So I mean, it's going to be a very interesting game. I mean, KD Smith's really shown he can be the leader for the Lions. I look for Sam to try to establish the run early to keep it out of Justin Little's hands. Sam likes to run the ball regardless if it's cold or if it's hot. So, but KD Smith can definitely throw that thing around the yard, though.
Yeah, Independence struggle to stop it.
But this West Charlotte team can do more run this year.
That's what I said.
I think the biggest question in this game is going to be depth, and can West Charlotte maintain? How big is the depth difference, number of player difference because of heat and such?
Well, if we get to play with this tropical storm coming to town, hopefully we can.
Yeah, exactly. I think you know what, this is, if people don't know, this is a long time rivalry.
Sneaky good game. Sneaky game.
We're
not going to let Sam talk because I'm trying not to let him get himself in trouble. But Sam, if you want to get yourself in trouble, raise your hand and I'll let you talk. Go ahead. Your floor is yours.
It's nothing. I mean, it's nothing to like be in trouble about. I mean, DJ McFadden is one of my good friends in the coaching world. We joke around. I mean, we're gonna both try to whoop each other's tail, but the thing is, neither one of us play. We can be as passionate as we want, but his team's on a roll after they're going to score 75 points. We just came off an emotional first home game win. I'm glad that, we got one under our belt at the home stadium. Now we get to play again, so we get those little feelings out. We're not going to play with emotion as much. Hopefully we play with conviction. But I think this rival, the reason why DJ and I put this game together many years ago or a couple years ago is because that rivalry.
And it started on the show, though. It started on the show. We were talking about we need to bring it back on the show, and you guys.
It did, and it's special for both programs because there's a lot of history between the two, and I think we'll keep it going from year in and year out. And DJ got me last year. We got him the first year, so it's 1-1, and it's an exciting game Friday. It's bigger and better than you think. Both of us are in the Sweet 16 together, right neck to neck, and I'm excited about it.
I think this is a unique opportunity for West Charlotte.
Very good
If West
game.
Charlotte can win this game and go to 3-0, I think they're going to open up a lot of eyes, statewide, and even climb up further on Chris's rankings. Sam, you might not like how high you did or did not climb in Chris's rankings. We'll see those in a minute. But now Grice isn't here to do Grice's right, so Dale is going to stand in and be Grice on the backside of this. All right, so Dale, the North Carolina game of the week is Providence Day hosting Charlotte Catholic. They're playing on ESPNU. Huge opportunity for the kids to be on national television in front of a big crowd. Last year's game, Providence Day scored about 4 seconds left. You were at that game, Dale. Jaden Davis threw into basically triple coverage, but just put it in a place where only his guy could catch it. One of those throws that next level guys make. Catholic's going for revenge. Break us down.
So, first, people, I apologize. 20 years ago, I could have had the energy that Bryce can put in this stuff. I do not, but these are Bryce's key points to the game. As you can see here, he's saying pick your poison. Klein, Goodwin, or Ship. Who is going to be the guy that you let have his way, and who are you going to try to shut down? Ship, those of us old guys, we remember his dad. And Langston, this kid might be better than his dad was.
His dad was National Offensive Player of the Year. USA.
Where did his dad play at again?
Where did his dad play at?
Stop talking about Steve Ship. Y'all need to stop talking about Steve. That man was National Player of the Year. Stop talking about that man.
Very, very good ball player.
One of the best ever.
Eliminate chunk plays. Ball control is key. Now, the question was asked a little earlier about, is Catholic still a wing T?
No.
And they still have elements of wing T around. But over the past few seasons, they've thrown the ball more. Last year's game against Providence Day was a good example. So, but ball control will be key. I think they got to keep that Providence Day offense in Davis on the sideline as much as they
flip
can.
Flip it around for me, Dale. Tell me what the Chargers have to do to win this game.
Yeah, so stay disciplined, no turnovers. Those disciplined in both manner of penalties and no turnovers. That will be highly important because Catholic is going to play disciplined, and doubtful they have many turnovers, if any. So that will be one key. Because I do expect a close game, even though Providence Day's maybe the best team in the state.
It's only close if they limit
Always
possessions.
Say what now? Limit possessions?
They limit possessions. Providence Day
right.
scored 7 times on Asheville in 7 possessions. And about the same in Northwestern once they got over the jitters of being in the gym.
And always know where Larson is. That's obviously important. You know what? That's kind of one of those things I think they're going to know where he is. The question is staying, coverage, keeping him covered. You can know where a man is, but you've also got to be able to.
There's nobody that can cover
Stop the
Larson
run
in North
first.
Carolina. He's special.
So containment will be an important factor. I think that's highly important. The big differences in the two, I believe, will be that how much can Catholic limit plays? Right. There's going to be big plays, but there's a difference between a big play and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So can you limit plays? And Catholic has always been that kind of disciplined, high IQ team on the field that the players know where to go, know where to be, and they're going to be going up against a huge talent pool offensively and defensively.
This is
2 great games. And Sam, I don't know. this is a great game, and yours is a great game. I can tell people from last season, I have not had more fun in a long time than I had at that Catholic Providence State game.
And I stole all your
year.
videos too. I stole everything one of them.
Yep. And I think it's going to be the same kind of game.
Sam, here's my question: when you play Chad this year, Chad's going to go 2 tight ends and put his stud wide receivers on the edge, forcing you to cover them man up. Is there anything you can do schematically to avoid that happening?
Well, the thing is, traditionally, Catholic has always been a great cover 2 team. They were one of the best at doing it. With Brodowicz was the coach.
Yeah,
this is going to be the game. He's no longer there.
Yeah.
I'll be very curious to see how they play it. You can play it with a 7-man box and then play with the cover 2 shell, but not necessarily man up on the edges. But they don't just go 2 tight ends. They can do some different things.
Against Northwestern, he went a lot of 2 tights.
Yeah, because that's the game plan going into it. Right. I don't know if he'll do that. Like Chad is very smart at trying to pick on the weaknesses and spreading the ball out or condensing it down, depending on what. He's probably the closest OC you'll see since Tommy Knotts, in my opinion. I think he does a great job of picking out the weaknesses of the defense and doing that. Providence Day is very unique in a way that they're very big at the tackle. They can run the ball
on the
extremely
left side.
Well. Yes. Well, no, the right tackle is just as big as the left
tackle.
Center's
5'10", 185.
No, the right tackle is 6 foot.
It's 5'10", 185.
Yeah, but you got 2 tackles, and if you got a nasty center, you still can run the ball very well. And their running back came from where? West Virginia, or where did he come from?
Yeah, he's a stud.
He's a good guy. We've seen him in the scrimmage, and they're really good. But they can spread the ball around and get the ball in space. And in my opinion, regardless of position, if you ask me who the best player in the state is, it's not the quarterback. He's amazing. Ship is the best player, in my opinion, in all of football.
So you're going to move Ship up to the top of the first Mr. Football list that we do?
If you ask me who the best is right now, I would
that's
put
not
him
what I
first.
asked you. I said, are you going to put Ship at the top of the Mr. Football list when we update it?
Yes, I would put him. If it's
no, it's your list. I'm saying
I know it's my list. I'm putting him at the top. In the things that it's not just a stat book. If you watch him play, his intangibles are unbelievable.
But you still didn't answer my question. What are you going to do when they go 2 tights? If you're Charlotte,
I told you I would play with the 7-man box.
You're gonna put two
safeties. I would play with the 2 safeties, and they have to be able to have great eye control where they can help the outside corners. Okay, so it's not necessarily man-to-man coverage, but the safeties can get involved in the run game. They got to pick out a tendency to let it know when it's running past to get involved in the run game.
What do you do when he goes twins with 2 tights?
You got to be able to do that. See, there you go. A little bit of that. Might have to roll in.
I know a little bit about football, Sam. I'm a
little roll in the cover 3, a little flow action.
Okay.
All right.
Cam, who's winning this game? Put you on spot. You know I like to put you on spot when you're going.
You like to put me on the spot?
Yes.
Providence Day. I mean, I said before the season I think they'd go undefeated. I'm not gonna steer away from that now. I think if Catholic can really limit their possessions, it'll be closer than it would normally be. But I mean, if they give Providence Day 7-8 possessions, it could be real ugly.
I think limiting possession is key. Our Sammy Sin, I believe, is going to be with you at that game, so we look forward to the coverage. ESPN is a phenomenal experience for the kids. I mean, how about Providence Day playing the first game at Bank of America Stadium, playing on national television? I can't remember the last time a team from Charlotte played on national television, but it's a pretty cool experience for those guys. And speaking of Providence Day, Chris isn't here, but here are his rankings for the private schools. Providence Day is on top. You see Raven Gap, Charlotte Christian, both undefeated, followed by Ravenscroft, Metrolina Christian, 2-0. I believe that game got stopped on Saturday when they were up 14-0. Cannon is always winning, it seems like, and it's Hickory Grove with their stud running back and High Point Christian. And Harold's Christian, who used to give Chad Greer a fit when he was at Davidson Day. There was one game, his son, it was 109 to 80 or something like that, and Will Greer threw for 839 yards and 13 touchdowns, something like that against Harold's Christian.
Did you see him in his final game for the Cowboys?
I did. He was amazing. I think Dallas is making a mistake going with Trey Lance over him.
100%.
That's just,
did you see? I know this is high school preps and stuff, but did you see the passion? How many people saw this? But did you see the passion?
I did. Yeah, he loves his guys.
Of Greer, they love him.
Yeah.
What did you see Dak wear going into the game?
I didn't see the
Did
game.
you see that?
No.
Greer
He wore a number 15 jersey to represent
Right?
Greer.
Yeah, no, I think getting Trey Lance was probably a mistake. I know what Dallas is thinking, but I don't.
That's when you got. That's the problem. The Cowboys right there. I know Gary be upset about it, but
no, he wasn't.
Gary's got his hands in the pie.
No, Gary gave up on him.
But it became a non-coaching
Cam was a
decision.
Cowboy fan.
That was a non-coaching decision where they got rid of Greer. I think that they're trying to make this big old splash in the media. Those official guys, the owner and his son and all those guys.
The Jerry Jones.
I don't understand that. You got a guy everybody loves in the locker room and can play, as you see. You give him a chance, he can really play.
Bad mistake.
Staying on my time, Sam. Staying on my time. Here's
Sorry,
the one.
my bad. I'm passionate about that.
Mount Airy and Tarboro seem like they're headed to a clash in the state championship game. Mountain Island Charter, Sam, beat Charlotte Latin, 11-time state champion. Charlotte Latin at home called it one of the bigger wins they've had. They're doing a really good job down there in Mount Holly. And Mountain Island Charter is ranked, and they have a lot of talent down there, so we have to keep an eye on them and what they're doing. And now let's take a look at the 2A class. I know I'm not as good as Chris breaking down Chris's rankings, but in the 2A class, we have Clinton at the top and Reedsville, Salisbury. Monroe dropped a lot. They were number 2 last week, dropped all the way to 7. Sam, you still think Monroe can make a run at that state title?
If you ask me right now, and if you moved Monroe past number 2, you're crazy. I'll say it right now. I got no problem saying, I rub people the wrong way sometimes. We called Forest Hills to play in the game. They had a week 2 opening and they denied quickly. Monroe did not deny. They said, let's go. Okay.
But it's hard to put Monroe above Reedsville.
I'm just telling you.
Monroe was number 2 last week.
I'm not saying. I'm saying.
You said drop them below 2.
Yeah.
And Reedsville.
All right.
Reedsville was 3 last week, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to put. It'd be hard right now to put Monroe above Reedsville. It may be Salisbury.
I'm just saying you right now.
Sam, I get your point. And Forest Hills is a good football team. I don't know why they would have turned that game down.
Might be a bit of a
kind
drop,
of game that can help you later on in the year, particularly when you play in a conference that's not quite as strong.
That's why Chris is not here right now. He don't want to hear that from me.
3A, Crest is at the top. Dudley and Kings Mountain right there. 71st East Lincoln. Really quietly, kind of, making their little march. I mean, it was kind of like last year. We didn't pay any attention to East Lincoln. They got to the playoffs. They ran the table. And there's Sam. You were 9 last week. You jumped to 6 this week. Did you jump enough, Sam?
That's fine, man. Chris started us way back there in the back. We'll make him a believer later on. It's all good.
Can you handle the East Lincolns, the 71st, the Kings Mountains of the world?
Of course we can. We're handling a 4A schedule. We're playing the best teams we can. I think they'd feel the same way if they played us. I think they can handle us as well. I have not watched film on any of those guys, but we are prepared with the schedule that we have. We're playing the best teams in the state. And when it comes down playoff time, barring any bad injury, we will be one of the best teams.
What's that saying?
Well, here's the answer,
Sam. What is it?
What?
Hold on, Dale. That little saying you say everybody hates. What is it? What do you say? Winter is coming. Winter is coming. Go ahead.
Well, so he handled almost Kings Mountain last year.
If he had a special teams unit, which we warned him about, warned him about it.
And he's got a better team this year than he had last year.
We told Sam all year long to fix his special team situation. He didn't listen.
Well, yes, I did listen. We lost our long snapper the game before.
That stupid call the week before.
It was not and let Dale tell you, y'all don't get in trouble.
Yeah. All right, here's the Fight Club. Grimsley's number 1, Weddington's number 2. Sam,
I can
Sam,
see
in your Sam Griner rankings, would you flip Weddington and Grimsley?
No, because Grimsley beat Weddington. I'm just saying I think Weddington's the better team. Now, you can't put them in front of Grimsley, I think, until they do beat them, because they lost to them in the semifinals.
Right.
But like what I like the ranking right there. Weddington number 2. I just, I was very disappointed. Yeah. I thought, what did Weddington start at? Like number 9 on this list? We got to help Chris out. Remember,
first preseason as a guest. Cam, you think Mallard Creek's the best team in the state? Seeing this, do you agree with this, or we have it wrong?
I mean, I think Grimsley and Mallard Creek are on a collision course. If
Mallard Creek No edited. He's saying, okay.
That is no disrespect. Coach
Yeah,
Capone,
that's
Coach
hard to
Capone knows
hard to
how I feel
believe.
about his squad, and he knows I respect them. But right now, you know, it's week 2, y'all, or week 3 now. Man, we got a lot of football left to see, but
No, you said it.
That
You
Mallard
said
Creek defense is
you
stout.
said a collision course. He gives more stuff
Exactly.
out there to the internet than I do. I can tell you
They're
that.
gonna have
Y'all
camera.
quit
Totally
twisting my
bypass
words,
wedding.
y'all.
They're gonna have camera on those slow motion videos too. So he'll be on one of the slow motion videos as well.
And
All
as
right,
far
guys,
as his, never wrecked you, Sam.
we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be back with Coach versus Coach with a little twist this time. Cam's gonna host, and Dale and Griner gonna go at it. And while we're on the break, get yourself some Deer Park water.
Deer Park is celebrating its 150th anniversary.
Deer Park, that's good water.
You can taste how pure Deer Park is.
Deer Park, that's good water.
Deer Park, that's still good water.
All right, here we are, Coach versus Coach. You know, we got Sam, who's always over there, but then we got Dale. So it's time to lock the doors. It's time to get into it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
I'm gonna get my
Throw the keys out, 'cause
Grice.
he's gonna
Just
be
because
dog
Grice
meat.
is not here right now, I'm gonna fluff my beard for him. Little fluff.
All right, so I got to know Dale's coaching style. Do you like to receive, or do you like to kick off first? Do you like the second half possession?
Well, mostly I like to kick off. Kick off.
Okay. Well,
play
Sam, do you want to
defense.
receive? I know
did
you like
tell
to kick
Sam
off.
Friday night.
Yeah, well,
he
I'll
should
tell you
take
what. Since you guys are getting, since you know this is Coach
I'll
versus
let
Coach,
Sam
I'll give
play
you
what he
guys a little
wants.
bit of a.
All right, Sam.
Well, if you let me do that, if you're saying you're kicking, then I'm going to receive now and then receive at halftime because you're supposed to say you doing the defer. So guess what? You don't get even to talk about
I was
the right
just
question.
answering his question.
All right. Should the ACC add California, Stanford, and SMU to the Atlantic Coast Conference?
I would say no because there would be
I'll-
47,000 teams in the ACC after that. I think that it would be, everybody's trying to battle to make the conference bigger and better and all what we can do. But the ACC, how can you Atlantic Coast Conference? Okay,
All right.
You can't add Stanford to it. Like Stanford's on the West Coast. Okay, so let's just try not to get it a little confused. We'll have to change the whole name and it won't be called the ACC anymore.
Dale?
We used to have a food chain called A&P Groceries, so it had to be Atlantic Pacific Coast. I can't argue with Sam, but for many other reasons, of course, I'm old school. I grew up with the ACC. I grew up with the ACC when there were 7 schools. I have a hard time with these other teams that we've been bringing in that aren't out of that tradition. But to start bringing in teams from the West Coast, no, this just makes no sense at all to me. So, no.
Yeah.
All right, well, looks like that's a tie since we're in agreement. So we'll move on to the second question. Should the NCHSAA move charter schools into their own playoff bracket? Sam?
Oh, you want me to go again? Okay, because
Yeah,
that's fine.
All right, well, Dale, you go first.
No, you said it. He
All right.
kicked. He wanted to kick.
Well, I answered this question in our interview, and I'll answer it now. No, they should not. I think they should be treated like every other public school and go in by ADM into both conferences, classification that they play in, and playoffs. I don't think that there should be any difference in treatment of them. So, no, I'm just solid on that. No. And if Sam says anything contrary, then maybe I'll have something to say.
I would say it would be kind of unique if they did. Imagine having a different classification. Now, if they were all near each other where you didn't have to travel like crazy to play these games a full season, I think it'd be cool if they had their own division. I think if you asked, Mountain Island Charter and these other schools if they had their own capability to have their own playoff bracket, I think they would say yes, because it would be unique in a way that we're the charter school champions. You got the private school, you got the public school, and you have the charter school. So they are unique in a different way. So if they did do that, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it would be kind of unique and cool.
But then wouldn't they need to play in a charter school conference and play charter schools? Or, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of a regular season?
What's the difference? What's the difference in the private schools, Dale?
Well, that's what I'm saying. What's the difference? The difference is that in the NCHSAA, there are guidelines and such that you agree to adhere to. And the reason private schools aren't in the NCHSAA is because of that. So all these schools are members because they agree to a common alliance and a common set of regulations, et cetera.
Are they?
So that's why I'm sorry.
Are they state funded just like the public schools?
No. So
interesting. I'll take that win.
Oh yeah, no. Are you asking? Are charter schools state funded? I thought you were still talking about private. Charter schools are full blown public schools.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Then that makes sense for your your argument there. I just think if you have the capability, say you have 8 I don't know how many charter schools there are in North Carolina. You would have to tell me that. I wouldn't know. But say you had enough for 2 conferences. You could have 2 conferences and still have a state championship running at that deal. So it'd be kind of. I'm just saying.
So I would accept that as a playoff situation if they were playing in conferences with just themselves.
We play in a 4A conference, but we play in 3A state championship, Dale.
Right. But you're still you can play 3A schools, etc. You raise a little bit of a point there. The other question would be, of course, with the charters, is there ADMs, or is there a huge difference in some of them's ADMs that would maybe make some of them a classification or 2 higher? I would be acceptable. So you maybe won me over just a little bit. There is some light to the reasoning that maybe it makes an idea. I think it deserves more discussion.
All right, point to Sam on that one. So last question. Let's see if Dale can bring it to a tie, and then might have to throw in a 2-point conversion or something because I don't like ties. Tyings, no. All right, have Bryce Young and the Panthers shown enough to make you think they're a playoff team in a very weak NFC South, I may add? So you went first, Dale. Sam, on you.
Yep.
Okay, so Bryce Young is going to be amazing. I think that we gave up a lot. He better be amazing. Have they shown enough to be a playoff team? They haven't shown enough. But do I think they will be a playoff team? Yes. But the key word is shown on this team. So I'm going to say no. They have not shown enough to be a playoff team. And I'm really worried about, we had one of the most elite defenses last year, but we couldn't score. I'm afraid that the defense is taking steps back, maybe schematically. I don't know if they're hiding something from this, before you get into the regular season. A lot of teams, they don't want to show everything they're doing, and they don't play to the capability they can. I've seen teams that be undefeated in preseason and then go into regular season and struggle to win games. So I'm hoping it's that reverse. I'm saying they will be a playoff team, but have they shown enough? No, they have not.
No, they haven't because, well, I'll interject here. They're only playing Bryce Young 2 minutes a game. But anyway, go ahead, Dale.
I am a Panthers fan. I was a Dolphins fan until we got the Panthers, and I said, okay, we got a home team. I'm going to pull for my home team. But man, is it hard. And to be asked this question and to actually think that I don't even know that I can agree with you that they will be. They certainly haven't shown that they can be. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they're hiding anything. That's the problem. I don't think there's any hiding. I don't know why you hide. Mm-hmm. Well, the question is, where are they hiding it? It's not on the team yet. So, no, they haven't shown that they can be a playoff team. And the only reason they might be a playoff team is because they play in such a flimsy conference that they could squeak enough wins out. But you know what? They'll be under 500. Mm-hmm. That's what I think. So an under 500 team making the playoffs.
This is going to be like around the horn. I'm going to give more points to Dale. Dale wins, by the way.
Dale wins, so you got to tie.
It's rough. I'm sorry, but
He pointed out the
It's
weak conference.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. All right, guys, time to get up out of here.
I
It's time
love
to
the
put the big
Panthers.
star.
I want to see them win.
I hear you. We're going to put the big star in this one shot before we get out of here. Sam, what are your final thoughts?
I really want to see my athletic director really struggle to get everybody into the game this Friday, to see one of the oldest rivalries in Independence, West Charlotte getting after it. Game is at 7 o'clock unless they've changed it, midweek. I would love to see it. I would love to see just sweat pouring down. Steve Joyner, who is an alumni of West Charlotte, new AD, does an amazing job. But I want to see the lines just so far out there that just bring back that West Charlotte Betty's Ford feeling. And I'll do my best to make sure that someone's cooking some fish so that we can get that smell to matriculate that line.
We're going to matriculate. I like that word.
That's right.
I like that word. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys coming on. You guys watching have no idea how hard it was for us to get this show to you tonight. But that is Sam Griner, the star of the show is Dale Ross, one of the historians of CMS. That is the guru in training, Cameron Williams. You did a great job tonight to put you on the big stage. You didn't fluster.
He did. He did a great job. I was actually kind of proud of him outside.
And
hey, who did you pick, Cam? Who did Cam pick in the picks?
Independence, I think. Anyway, that's Sam, that's Dale, that's Cam, I'm Langston, and we are Talking Preps.